Let's discuss this now with Douglas London from Washington, D.C. He is a former counterterrorism chief for South and Southwest Asia for the CIA. He's also written a book on the CIA's post 9/11 transformation called The Recruiter. Douglas, great to have you on the program with us. I'd like to hear your thoughts on the death of Ayman al Zawahiri. Does it reduce the threat from Al Qaeda, you think?
Removing Zawahiri from the battlefield certainly has a short-term disruptive effect on the organization. I think what might be overlooked is Zawahiri might not have been so crucial in planning 9/11, but he oversaw the organization during its darkest days after bin Laden was killed, when the Daesh was becoming the more preeminent group in the world and drawing resources and such. And it was Zawahiri's presence really and vision that helped preserve the organization, giving it the resilience, allowing it this opportunity now, unfortunately, to regroup in Afghanistan with the partnership with the Taliban.
Yeah, what does that say to you that he was killed in Kabul? Is this proof that the Taliban is hosting and even cooperating with Al Qaeda?
Well, I don't think there was really any doubt about that. The United Nations put out reports in May and June on counterterrorism and on Al Qaeda and the Taliban specifically, saying that cooperation was very good. Their information obviously is drawn from member states, but that's intelligence from the United States and others reporting on the dynamics there, which have been long lasting. That he wound up in Kabul is surprising for Zawahiri himself, who was so fastidious about his security and staying under the radar. But I suspect that it was really pressure from the Taliban to keep him in Kabul, where the Haqqanis particularly have control of that city, and the Haqqanis have that long relationship with Zawahiri, to have leverage in over what Al Qaeda might do while operating on their territory.
The Biden administration hailed the killing of al Zawahiri as a counterterrorism success. But do you think the U.S. has really misjudged the group and the steady buildup since the killing of bin Laden in 2011?
Well, it's certainly a success, and I certainly see the evidence of Al Qaeda being degraded over these years. Clearly, that's evidenced by the lack of its activity overseas and its strategy more or less to survive and wait things out. I think Al Qaeda does represent a long term threat. I think the United Nations report to which I refer puts it best, saying, in a way, it's a greater long term threat than ISIS, which is preoccupied with a lot of local issues, where Al Qaeda, at the core of its strategy, is striking the United States, either in the homeland or abroad. So this opportunity now to regroup, I think Zawahiri's death will cause us some disruption and some interesting questions about succession and leadership, but it's still very much a threat to the West.
Yeah, and what does the future of Al Qaeda and the threat potentially look like going forward? Is there just someone else waiting in the wings to take over?
Well, another Egyptian, Saif al-Adil, would be the most reasonable successor. Saif al-Adil, along with Abu Muhammad al-Masri, were both in Iran, along with a number of other al-Qaeda senior figures. Abu Muhammad was killed in an operation in August 2020 in Tehran, which was attributed to the United States and/or Israel. That would leave Saif to move up. But Saif doesn't really work and play well with others. Uh, and it's going to be a vote of the Al Qaeda Shore, which essentially includes the emirs of its different affiliates who would have to endorse Saif. And then there's the question of Iran. Saif was likewise in Iran. I don't know how comfortable Iran would be about hosting the emir of Al Qaeda as opposed to some of its leaders. So there's a lot of questions to answer. And we'll have to see how it shakes out. But at the end, Al Qaeda will have to announce its new leader, because that position is vital in coalescing the group, in drawing recruits, drawing financing, and outlining a vision for the organization going forward.
All right, Douglas London joining us from Washington. Thank you.